minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Zuckerberg, thank you for your patience. I am a daily Facebook user, much to my staff's distress. I do it myself. And because we need a little humor, I'm even married to a 91-year-old man that's the king of Twitter. But I know Facebook's value. I've used it for a long time. But with that value also comes obligation. We've all been sitting here for more than 4 hours. But some things are striking during this conversation. As CEO, you didn't know some key facts. You didn't know about major court cases regarding your privacy policies against your company. You didn't know that the FTC doesn't have fining authority and that Facebook could not have received fines for the 2011 consent order. You didn't know what a shadow profile was. You didn't know how many apps you need to audit. You did not know how many other firms have been sold data by Dr. Kogan other than Cambridge Analytica and Inoya Technologies, even though you were asked that question yesterday. And yes, we were all paying attention yesterday. You don't even know all the kinds of information Facebook is collecting from its own users. Here's what I do know. You have trackers all over the web. On practically every website you go to, we all see the Facebook like or Facebook share buttons. And with the Facebook pixel, people browsing the internet may not even see that Facebook logo. It doesn't matter whether you have a Facebook account. Through those tools, Facebook is able to collect information from all of us. So I want to ask you, how many Facebook like buttons are there on non-Facebook web pages?
Congresswoman, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but we'll get back to you.
Is the number over 100 million?
I believe we've served the like button on pages more than that, but I don't know the number of pages that have the like button on actively.
How many Facebook share buttons are there on non-Facebook web pages?
I don't know the answer to that exactly off the top of my head either, but that's something that we can follow up with you on.
And do we think that's over 100 million? Likely. How many chunks of Facebook pixel code are there on non-Facebook web pages?
Congresswoman, you're asking some specific stats that I don't know off the top of my head, but we can follow up with you and get back to you on all of these.
Can you commit to get back to the committee? The European Union is asking for 72 hours on transparency. Do you think we could get that back in committee in 72 hours?
Congresswoman, I will talk to my team and we will follow up.
I know you're still reviewing, but do you know now whether there are other fourth parties that had access to the data from someone other than Dr. Kogan? Or is this something we're going to find out in a press release down the road? I think what worries all of us, and you've heard it today, is it has taken almost 3 years to hear about that. And I am convinced that there are other people out there.
Congresswoman, as I've said a number of times, we're now going to investigate every single app that had access to a large amount of people's information in the past before we lock down the platform. I do imagine that we will find some apps that were either doing something suspicious or misused people's data. If we find them, then we will ban them from the platform, take action to make sure that they delete the data, and make sure that everyone involved is informed.
And you make it public quickly, not 3 years. Thanks.
As soon as we find them.
So I'm going to conclude, because my time's almost up, that I worry that when I hear companies value our privacy, that's meant in monetary terms, not in the moral obligation to protect it. Data protection and privacy are like clean air and clean water. There need to be clear rules of the road.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Chair recognizes the gentleman from Pennsylvania. Gentlelady from California, Ms. Walters, for 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg, for being here. One of my biggest concerns is the misuse of consumer data and what controls users have over their information. You've indicated that Facebook users have granular control over their own content and who can see it. As you can see on the screen, on the left is a screenshot of the on-off choice for apps, which must be on for users to use apps that require a Facebook login and which allows apps to collect your information. On the right is a screenshot of what a user sees, when they want to change the privacy settings on a post, photo, or other content. Same account, same user. But which control governs? The app platform access or the user's decision as to who they want to see a particular post?
Sorry, could you repeat the...
So which app governs, okay, or which control governs? The app platform access or the user's decision as to who they want to see a particular post? So if you look up there on the screen.
Yeah. Congresswoman, so when you're using the service, if you share a photo, for example, and you say, I only want my friends to see it, then in Newsfeed and Facebook, only your friends are going to see it. If you then go to a website, and then you want to sign into that website can ask you and say, hey, here are the things that I want to get access to in order for you to use the website. If you sign in after seeing that screen where the website is asking for certain information, then you are also authorizing that website to have access to that information. If you've turned off the platform completely, which is what the control is that you have on the left, then you wouldn't be able to sign into another website. You'd have to go reactivate this before that would even work.
Okay, do you think that the average Facebook user understands that is how it works, and how would they find this out?
Congresswoman, I think that the settings when you're signing into an app are quite clear. In terms of every time you go to sign into an app, you have to go through a whole screen that says, here's the app, here's your friends who use it, here are the pieces of information that it would like to have access to. You make a decision whether you sign in, yes or no, and until you say, I want to sign in, nothing gets shared. Similarly, in terms of sharing content, every single time that you go to upload a photo, you have to make a decision. It's right there at the top. It says, are you sharing this with your friends or publicly or with some group? And every single time that's quite clear. So in those cases, yes, I think that this is quite clear.
Okay, so these user control options are in different locations. And it seems to me that putting all privacy control options in a single location would be more user-friendly. Why aren't they in the same location?
Well, Congresswoman, we typically do two things. We have a settings page that has all of your settings in one place in case you want to go and play around or configure your settings. But the more important thing is putting the settings in line when you're trying to make a decision. So if you're going to share a photo now, we think that your setting about who you want to share that photo with should be in line right there. If you're going to sign into an app, we think that it should be very clear right in line when you're signing into the app what permissions that app is asking for. So we do both. It's both in one place in settings if you want to go to it, and it's in line in the relevant place.
Okay, California has been heralded by many on this committee for its privacy initiatives. Given that you and other major tech companies are in California and we are still experiencing privacy issues, how do you square the two?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
So given that you and other major tech companies are in California and we are still experiencing privacy issues, how do you square the two?
What was the other piece?
California has been heralded by many in this committee for its privacy initiatives.
Well, Congresswoman, I think that privacy is not something that you can ever... It's our understanding of the issues between people and how they interact online only grows over time. So I think we'll figure out what the social norms are and the rules that we want to put in place. And then 5 years from now, we'll come back and we'll have learned more things. And either that'll just be that social norms have evolved and the company's practices have evolved, or we'll put rules in place. But I think that our understanding of this is going to evolve over quite a long time. So I would expect that even if a state like California is forward-leaning, that's not necessarily going to mean that we fully understand everything or have solved all the issues.
Gentlelady's time's expired. Recognize the gentlelady from Michigan, Ms. Dingle, for...
Thank you for being here. I've been here for on and off for the last 4 hours that you've been testifying, and I have to tell you, I'm concerned about how much Facebook values trust and transparency. If we agree that a critical component of a relationship of trust and transparency is we speak truth and we get to the truth. During the course of this hearing, these last 4 hours, you've been asked several critical questions for which you don't have answers. And those questions have included whether Facebook can track users' browsing activity even after the user has logged off of Facebook, whether Facebook can track your activity across devices even when you aren't logged into Facebook, who is Facebook's biggest competition, whether Facebook may store up to 96 categories of users' information, whether you knew whether Kogan's terms of service and whether you knew if that Kogan could sell or transfer data. And then another case in point, specifically as it relates to Cambridge Analytica, is, and a concern of mine, is that you, meaning Facebook, and I'm going to assume you personally as CEO, became aware in December of 2015 that Dr. Kogan and Cambridge Analytica misappropriated data from 87 million Facebook users. That's 27 months ago that you became, as Facebook, and perhaps you personally became aware. However, a decision was made not to notify the users. So my question is, did anyone at Facebook have a conversation at the time that you became aware of this breach, and have a conversation wherein the decision was made not to contact the users?
Senator, I don't know if there were any conversations at Facebook overall, because I wasn't in a lot of them, but
on that subject.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what other people discussed. At the time, in 2015, we heard the report that this developer, Alexander Kogan, had sold data to Cambridge Analytica. That's in violation of our terms.
Correct. And were you a part of a decision? Were you part of a discussion that resulted in a decision not to inform your users?
I don't remember a conversation like that. But the reason why...
Are you aware of anyone in leadership at Facebook who was in a conversation where a decision was made not to inform your users, or do you believe no such conversation ever took place?
I'm not sure whether there was a conversation about that, but I can tell you the thought process at the time of the company, which was that in 2015, when we heard about this, we banned the developer, and we demanded that they delete all the data and stop using it, and same with Cambridge Analytica.
They told us they had testimony in that regard, but I'm talking about notification of the users, and this relates to the issue of transparency and the relationship of trust, informing the user about what you know in terms of how their personal information has been misused. And I'm also concerned that when you personally became aware of this, did you or senior leadership do an inquiry to find out who at Facebook had this information, and did they not have a discussion about whether or not the users should be informed back in December of 2015?
Senator, in retrospect, I think we clearly view it as a mistake that we didn't inform people, and we did that based on false information that we thought that the case was closed and that the data had been deleted.
So there was a decision made on that basis not to inform the users, is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. And
but in retrospect, I think that was a mistake, and knowing what we know now, we should have handled a lot of things here differently.
And I appreciate that point. Do you know when that decision was made not to inform the users?
I don't.
Okay. Last November, the Senate Intelligence Committee held a hearing on social media influence. I was a part of that hearing. I submitted 50 written questions to Facebook and other companies, and the responses that we received were unfortunately evasive, and some were frankly non-responsive. So I'm going to ask the question again here. How much revenue did Facebook earn from the user engagement that resulted from foreign propaganda?
Well, Senator, what we do know is that the IRA, the Internet Research Agency, the Russian firm, ran about $100,000 worth of ads. I can't say that we've identified all of the foreign actors who are involved here, so I can't say that that's all of the money, but that is what we have identified.
Okay, my time is up. I'll submit more questions for the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Harris. Next up is Senator Kennedy.